The room was as small and square and bare as a prison cell. The pale daylight that entered came from a single tiny window in the front wall, but there were no curtains. The only objects in the entire room were two upturned wooden boxes to serve as chairs, and a third box between them for a table. That was all. There were no pictures on the walls, no carpet on the floor, only rough, unpolished wooden planks, and there were gaps between the planks where dust and bits of grime had gathered. The ceiling was so low that with a jump Matilda could nearly touch it with her fingertips. The walls were white, but the whiteness didn't look like paint. Matilda rubbed her palm against it, and a white powder came off onto her skin. It was whitewash, the cheap stuff that is used in cowsheds and stables and hen houses. Matilda was appalled. Was this really where her neat and trimly dressed school teacher lived? Was this all she had to come back to after a day's work? It was unbelievable. And what was the reason for it? There was something very strange going on around here, surely. Miss Honey put the tray on one of the upturned boxes. "Sit down, my dear, sit down," she said, "and we'll have a nice hot cup of tea. Help yourself to bread. Both slices are for you. I never eat anything when I get home. I have a good old tuck in at the school lunch, and that keeps me going until the next morning." Matilda perched herself carefully on an upturned box, and more out of politeness than anything else, she took a slice of bread and margarine and started to eat it. At home, she would have been having buttered toast and strawberry jam, and probably a piece of sponge cake to round it off. And yet, this was somehow far more fun. There was a mystery here in this house, a great mystery. There was no doubt about that. And Matilda was longing to find out what it was. Miss Honey poured the tea and added a little milk to both cups. She appeared to be not in the least ill at ease, sitting on an upturned box in a bare room, and drinking tea out of a mug that she balanced on her knee. "You know," she said, "I've been thinking very hard about what you did with that glass. It is a great power you have been given, my child. You know that." "Yes, Miss Honey, I do," Matilda said, chewing her bread and margarine. "So far as I know," Miss Honey went on, "nobody else in the history of the world has been able to compel an object to move without touching it or blowing on it or using any outside help at all." Matilda nodded but said nothing. "The fascinating thing," Miss Honey said, "would be to find out the real limit of this power of yours. Oh, I know you think you can move just about anything there is, but I have my doubts about that." "I'd love to try something really huge," Matilda said. "What about distance?" Miss Honey asked. "Would you always have to be close to the thing you were pushing?" "I simply don't know," Matilda said, "but it would be fun to find out." And that's the end of chapter 16. So Matilda is invited to Miss Honey's house, and she is able to see how Miss Honey lives. And Miss Honey lives basically in a tiny barn almost, a tiny little house, so much that even Matilda could touch the roof, the ceiling with her fingers. So it's a small house with no running water. The only food that she has there is basically bread. And Miss Honey says that she doesn't eat dinner. She just eats at school and that's it. So right now they're just talking about wondering what kind of powers Matilda has and how big her powers actually are. So I'll see you next time for chapter 17. Bye bye.